It's time for EdTech Mondays, brought to you by Mastercard Foundation and CC Hub.
Hello, welcome to another series of EdTech Mondays Nigeria, where we facilitate critical conversations on the role of technology in teaching and learning, bringing together policymakers, innovators, educators, as well as young people to explore practical solutions shaping the future of education and work. This month, we're exploring the theme, Bridging the Gap, digital access and opportunities for Nigerian youth. My name is Damilola Busari, and I'll be the moderator. EdTech Mondays is designed to facilitate digital infrastructure, connectivity, and technical access to learning and skills opportunities, particularly for young people. This is why we're starting this series with the most foundational question of all. What does access really mean? And who is actually being reached today? To take on this conversation with me today, I have a lineup of guests joining me both here in the Lagos studio as well as virtually. Here in the studio is the program's lead at She Code Africa, an organization committed to training thousands of Nigerian women and girls in technical and digital skills. Please welcome Mary Omange. Hello, Mary.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being with us. Also in the studio is the Senior Program Coordinator at Leap Africa, a social impact organization working directly on digital career access and gender-inclusive digital skills for young Africans. Please welcome Chukwuemeka Okeke. Hello, Emeka. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
Thank you very much. Please welcome with us virtually Kingsley Okechukwu, the co-founder and chief technology officer of Blue Sand STEM Labs, an edtech company advancing STEM education through virtual laboratories and digital learning solutions using both AR and VR. Hello, Kingsley. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot. To set the stage for today's conversation, we start by unpacking what digital access really means, beyond devices and, of course, data availability. Now, let me start off with you, Mary. How do you define digital access for young people that you serve? Is it about devices and connectivity, or does it include skills, mentorship, as well as confidence?
Thank you for asking that question. So for us at She Code Africa, it's beyond just access. And for access alone, it's not just the skills, it's not just the tools, that is the laptops. We also realize that it's awesome. There are so many things that require women to be empowered or to have that access. So beyond that, we leverage on mentorship, we leverage on collaboration, community. We have a community, a huge community of over 30,000 women, right, in our community, where it's for women, by women, and for women. That's how we do it. And we realize that there are so many factors that makes it this way, right? And that's because women face different challenges each day. So for us at She Code Africa, it's beyond just access to skills, that is the training. We also have the tools, access to tools, which are the resources, access to connectivity, right? Also access to electricity, because some of these women don't even have access to electricity. We've had instances where women have to go a long distance just to access a good laptop to work with. And for us at She Code Africa, it's not just in Nigeria alone. We also reach out to thousands of women across Africa, over 40 African countries, right? So beyond that is also the aspect of providing support, and we do that through mentorship, through community, and also providing access to economic empowerment. That's what we do at She Code Africa.
Interesting. So digital access is holistic at the end of the day for She Code Africa. Let's come to you, Kingsley. How do you define access for the young people that you serve?
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. For us, we not only look at the skills and the talents that these kids should have. Digital skills is beyond giving them access to devices, which is one of the things we do. But we look at the talents, the quality of the training, we look at the environment, we also look at the emotional and mental capabilities of these kids. Are they in a conducive environment that it's learning fast? These are the things we look at. We know that on our part, we're doing well enough to give them the digital skills using virtual reality and augmented reality through our virtual labs. However, in order to ensure that this learning sticks, in order to ensure that they take home at the end of the day what they should go home with, providing them with the necessary welcoming environment, providing them with emotional support in the classroom. This is a part where our training involves training the trainers to ensure that the teachers who train these kids are also in the right frame of mind and they understand that beyond skills, beyond technology, beyond the talent, beyond whatever the future holds, the kids have to be mentally and emotionally stable enough to enjoy the training. So these are the ways we look at our digital training and the solutions we provide for the kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing with us what your own approach is. I'm going to ask you now, Chukwemeka, how would you also define digital access for the young people that you work with? Is it just devices, connectivity? What is digital access to you at Leap Africa?
Well, that's a very, very important question. So for us at Leap Africa, I like to look at it from a macro level and find a way to bring it down. Starting first with, for us, digital access is first inclusivity. Then from inclusivity, we get into connectivity and then advocacy. So what that means is from all our programmatic areas, when we think about even entrepreneurship, education, employability, we like to call it the 3 E's AH, which is employability, education, entrepreneurship, active citizenship, which is advocacy pillar, and then health and well-being. We see technology as cross-cutting. We see inclusivity as the access that every young person needs to go across, whether it's education, employability, or entrepreneurship. And then beyond inclusivity is how we get into the people who are actually unhinged, who are unaccessed in that sense. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're not constantly supporting and providing to access to only people who we can actually get within urban or suburban areas. We're thinking about rural areas. So it's also that level of inclusivity, whether it's gender inclusivity, location or geographical inclusivity as well. But we also think about it in terms of connectivity. You talked about devices, right? Very important is beyond the devices is how we supporting the people who use the devices and those who mentor or teach or train the people who use it. So there's the train and mentor system. There's also in terms of connectivity, we're also thinking about how can a young person who is in a very remote location not only access this, but also able to use it and then provide some sort of peer-to-peer support for people within those communities as well. And then talk about advocacy, right? Because we understand that we can do so well with connectivity and inclusivity, but if the government or the people who are the central or the core of the work that we do are not buying into what we're doing, it becomes difficult for us to get into those very difficult locations. So as inclusivity is great, connectivity is also important. We say that we're working with the tri-sector, so that's government, private sector, and even NGOs to improve access, not access in the sense of inclusivity and connectivity, but also helping the tripartite sector to understand the need for this digital access in that sense. So across our programmatic area, we see digital access as inclusivity, connectivity, and larger advocacy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that with us. Talking about inclusivity and advocacy, we know that for young girls, a lot happens that prevents them from participating fully in the digital economy. Mary, what barriers do you continue to see in the work that you do that stops young girls from participating fully in the digital economy?
Thank you for that question. So there are so many factors, like I shared earlier. We have the social factor. We have the aspect where in the communities where these women stay, they do not have anyone to look up to. Probably a female figure who is in a leadership position to look up to in technology or in any other sector, right? So this is a very big issue. We also have the aspect of infrastructural issues or challenges that we currently have in Nigeria, where people do not have access to electricity, to even the basic amenities and needs, right? And this affects many women across board, right? And because of this, many women do not have access to devices. And like I had shared also earlier, so many women, we've had instances where people reach out to us, women reach out to us and tell us they had to walk to a far distance, they had to probably ask their colleagues or their friends for a laptop device just because they want to connect, right? And this is a very big issue. We also have the aspect of lack of access to even the devices, right? Most women don't have those devices, right? And there's also the aspect of women, as women, we have so many responsibilities. Having to manage multiple responsibilities often hinders women from actually learning or getting trained. That's because as a woman, especially a married woman, you have children, you have to take care of your children, you have to take care of the family, and you have to also work, right? Where is the time for
24 hours doesn't seem to be
Yes,
enough.
not enough. Right, so many barriers, religious barriers, cultural barriers, where so many things that affect the woman, right, and every woman. So there's so many barriers, and for us at She Code Africa, we realize that these barriers actually exist, but we need to do our part to break or to bridge that gap. Right, so that's why we have different programs. We have our academic programs, which teaches technical trainings. We also have the non-academic programs, and those are focused on initiatives, digital learning programs, because we realize that so many women, these women that probably do not have access to technology or to digital literacy, are being trained or empowered with skills to make them digital literate, so that in their businesses, in their career prospects, they can actually build themselves, because it is a digital world at this point in time, and a lot needs to be done. And we also try as much as possible to create a community where there's mentorship, there's guidance, there's support. So you don't just feel secluded. You have the next person also supporting you where necessary, right? The next woman knows what you're actually going through. So it's shared challenges, shared responsibilities to work together to become better. So for us, it's beyond just we look at the problem, but we also look at solutions. And for us, it's never ending, because the solutions we bring is more of a lifetime. So even when you finish our training, we are not just, and you get the certifications, you automatically become an alumni and also enter into our community. And for the community, it's also end to end as regards providing solutions and support in terms of income. When we talk about income, we're talking about internships, providing access to internship, access to job opportunities. We review the CVs of our women across board. We have multiple check-ins, monthly check-ins for all our women, thousands of women across Africa. So I would say the challenges are numerous. I can't
outline all of them.
Yeah, I can't outline everything. But we are also doing our part in ensuring that this gap is bridged.
Love it. Thank you for not only sharing the challenges, but also the solutions that you have proffered to ensure that these challenges cease to exist over time for the women that work with you. Chukwemeka, we understand that right now a lot of people are online. The way that young people have adapted and gotten online in the last 10, 15 years has been really, really high. But despite that, people still struggle to access real opportunities. You have people saying there are some fake opportunities on ground, there are scams, all sorts of things online. And where is the work, So from Leap Africa's work on the ground, what's the missing link between those real opportunities and young people actually accessing them? Because it's not as though they don't exist, but how do you even know that they are there, and how do you access them?
Maybe I can help to unpack it in two ways.
Okay.
The first part of it is the opportunities exist, but then they're not accessible, or they're not even aware of them. There's not an awareness of the opportunities. There's not an accessibility of the opportunities. And then how is our work helping to bridge that gap between accessibility and awareness in that sense? I don't know if that's
Yes.
So from an awareness standpoint, I would say that the truth is a lot of, whether they're women or young people, either do not have the requisite skill to even source those opportunities. I'll give you a case in point. So As part of our programs, we provide capacity building, whether they are education programs, entrepreneurship programs, provide capacity building. And then as part of capacity building, the part of the capstone is that you have to do some deep dive research in that sense, and then the case studies that are done in class. So that requires you to take on a life challenge and then profile a solution. And part of it is that life challenge can then become a project that you carry on out of a particular session. So what we found out in that sense is that point of even assessing the ideas and unpacking it and then breaking those case studies into practical realities is one of the biggest takeaways from our learning. What that tells us is there's a clear disconnect between what real life experiences are and what our young persons are actually even trying to change in that sense. So that level of awareness is not there. Another is some of these opportunities are domiciled on platforms that one, a young person somewhere in some remote location doesn't have access to because there's infrastructural gaps in that sense. How many persons have access to electricity, right? Which you talked about devices, even connectivity in that sense. So some of these infrastructural challenges make it difficult for even young persons to even access to opportunities, even when they see the platforms. Something happened even today before I came in for this. If a friend reached out to say there was a job opportunity somewhere, you have a CV. He's like, yes, but I have to get to a cyber cafe to do that. This is 2026.
I was just going to ask, cyber cafes still exist?
Correct, and it does. And this is some place in the south of Nigeria, and the person wants to apply for a job here in Lagos. Now,
Wow.
what I just said was, don't you have at least a soft copy of your CV and then work with it with AI, buff it up, and then it gives you the opportunity. And the person says, no, I don't have access to that because the network in my location is so bad, and I don't have a phone that can do that. Now, that's the person who's competing with someone, right? That's just talk about awareness. Then in terms of, somehow, I just found a way to connect it to accessibility. So beyond accessibility and awareness is that for us at Leap Africa is our programming doesn't just leave you with the opportunities, doesn't just bring you to the opportunities. It helps you see how the opportunities even take you further where you can then create opportunities for other young persons in that sense. So what happens is you go through the programming, there's an awareness of the opportunity, there's an awareness of the capacity that you need to access the opportunities and maximize opportunities, and then build a system that others can then come in and becomes a community of you helping other persons. Our e-learning bootcamp is a clear case of how we're using EdTech platforms and EdTech learning to help young persons, mostly girls, amazing work, and they're mostly women who are leveraging that opportunity. Sad to say, my guys, I don't know what's happening, but leveraging opportunity to build more systems for them to get more opportunities and create more jobs for more young persons in that sense.
Awesome. So there's a ripple effect at the end of the day once there's awareness from the people that you have worked with, and they then go ahead and share it with other people in their own communities too.
Absolutely, and then create other opportunities for other young persons.
Thank you very much for sharing. Kingsley, we know that Blue Sands Academy is focused on hands-on STEM learning. We'd like you to share the specific problem that the Academy is trying to solve when it comes to STEM education.
One of the things we just want to make sure that kids improve the learning outcomes. We also give equal access to every child, particularly the girl child. We also want to ensure that kids have fun and learning because our solution uses virtual reality, and we all know that with virtual reality comes that 3D virtual environment, which for many kids they find to be very interesting, and it looks like games they normally play. So while we're learning science, we also want to have fun. We also want the kids to have an immersive experience while learning. We want the kids to find it just like remember every game, just like growing up as kids. We have this bricks game we play with the handheld device. I mean, and some of us who played Mortal Kombat using Sega, Nintendo, and the likes, we remember the keys that you could press on the keypad and you give your opponent an uppercut. So, I mean, you could remember those things. So we want kids to remember what it looks like carrying out titration. We want kids to remember what it looks like. Even though in their school, they don't have a physical laboratory. Even though in the environment where we brought from, they don't have a functional lab, even though they don't have the resources, but with a virtual lab, they are able to have equal access, just like the kids in the elite schools, the suburban schools. So one of the things we are addressing with our solution is equal access to quality education, which is part of the Sustainable Development Goals. Yes, we also want to close the gender equality gap or inequality that is that we're currently having in the education sector, which is that in sciences, we find that the male child, the boy child, is always in the advantageous position. And particularly coming from communities and from areas where they prefer a young boy, they get the boy child going to school over the girl child, and they believe that the girl child is designed for homework, home chores, and the rest of the domestic activities, and that the boy child should be the one because it's the one whose name or who's going to carry the family name on. Therefore, he should be the one that should be educated. So the girl child is also empowered, and the girl child out there can also dream of becoming an engineer, an astronaut, a medical doctor, a gynecologist, I mean, whatever it is. So with our virtual environment, we want to fill that gap. We want to give equal access to kids in the remote areas, in the low resource environments. So those are the kind of things we are really focused on. And we're also open to working with my fellow participants on this call to see how we could, align our programs to align our mission and objective at Blue Sand STEM Labs to their own organizational programs to help them and also support them to also achieve their own programs using virtual reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing, Kingsley. Definitely, this is a different approach to STEM education, one that will be memorable for the children and one that would help them see possibilities. Thanks a lot for sharing. Today's conversation definitely reminds us that digital access goes beyond owning a smartphone or internet connectivity. It's about infrastructure, affordability, digital literacy, relevant content, and the confidence to actually use these tools meaningfully. My question for you, dear listener, is this. What's the biggest barrier preventing young people in your community from accessing digital opportunities? Next week, we go deeper into a much specific question. How do we close the access gap, not just for everyone in general, but for the young women and underserved communities who are so often left behind, even where connectivity exists? Share your thoughts with us on social media or via SMS or WhatsApp on 0703 165 0809 or call 0706 402 0742. Remember, you can continue this discussion on our WhatsApp and Telegram channels, EdTech Mondays Nigeria. Don't forget, past episodes are available on Spotify, EdTech Mondays Nigeria, and YouTube on CC Hub Africa. Your feedback will help shape the conversations that we host and the policy dialogues we advocate for. I am Damilola Busari. Until next time, bye for now.
Tech Mondays, brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub.